the possibility of reconvening at the end of town meeting based on the outcome of the town meeting votes.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye. And we are now in recess?
Yep.
Okay. Board of Selectmen.
I call town meeting to order. As everybody please stand, please, and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which he stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, before we read the charge, I'd just like to introduce everybody here on the stage tonight. I'm myself, Tom Horgan, town moderator. To our right, we have the Board of Selectmen, Chris Hillman, chairman, Janice Livingston, clerk, Gary Luca, member. And vice chairman, I'm sorry, he's the clerk, okay. They used to have different titles. And with them is the town administrator, Robert Pompriand. Over here on the left is the town clerk, Susan Copeland. Finance Commission, Scott Hood, Chris Prell, Greg Ketchum, and Pat Diamond. And two other people I'll introduce because maybe speaking tonight is the town accountant, Lisa Gabri, and town council, Greg Corbo. Madam Clerk.
Good evening. Town of Ayer special town meeting warrant. Ayer Shirley Regional High School Auditorium, 141 Washington Street, Ayer, Massachusetts, 01432, October 23rd, 2017 at 7 p.m. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Middlesex County. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Ayer qualified to vote in town elections and affairs to meet at the auditorium in the Ayer Shirley Regional High School located at 141 Washington Street, Ayer, Massachusetts on Monday, the 23rd day of October 2017 at 7 o'clock in the evening, then and there to act on the following articles. Hereof fail not and make due return of this warrant with your doings thereof to the town clerk before the date appointed for said meeting. Given under our hands this 3rd day of October AD 2017. Christopher R. Hillman, Chairman, Janice L. Livingston, Vice Chairman, Gary J. Luca, Clerk, Ayer Board of Selectmen. As directed in the foregoing warrant, I have this day posted 3 attested copies in 3 public places, one of which was the Town Hall, at least 14 days before said meeting, all as herein directed. Samuel Goodwin, Constable, October 6, 2017.
Okay, let's get the show on the road. Article 1, an act establishing an appointed town clerk. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation changing the office of town clerk from elected to appointed, as set forth below, provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before enacted, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to approve amendments within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition, as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Hillman.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for the special legislation changing the office of town clerk from elected to appointed as set forth in Article 1.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. No. Ooh. I'm going to say the ayes have it. Okay, ma'am, motion is passed. Oh, somebody question the vote, okay? Somebody's questioning the vote. Can I have, actually, I see two gentlemen over here on my right. Can I, Tim and, Brendan, mind being acting as counters? Okay. Just before you get there, just want to remind everybody, if you're not a voter of the town of Ayer, you cannot be down in these chairs. The non-voting section is up there along the back wall where the benches are. So if you're not a voter, that's where you need to be sitting, okay? Okay, all those in favor, please hold up your card there. Everybody said it was counted. You were counted. All those opposed, please hold up their cards. "74 yes, 24 no. The article is passed. Article 2, an act creating a combined appointed position of treasurer-collector. To see if the town will authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation creating the combined appointed position of treasurer-collector as set forth below, provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the Board of Selectmen approves the amendments to the bill before enacted, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to approve amendments within the general public objectives of the petition, as written in the warrant."
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen petition the General Court for special legislation creating the combined appointed position of treasurer-collector as set forth by Article 2.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Please state your, folks, when you stand there, please state your name and your address.
Lori Nearing, Highland Avenue, Ayer. I just wanted an explanation of what the benefit what the benefit is of this proposal, this article.
Selectman? No. Mr. Pompriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Nearing, the question being the benefit of the proposal. Currently, as you're aware, there is an elected treasurer and elected tax collector. The trend throughout the Commonwealth, as things have changed, and we'll have it up here. Actually, this will explain it, I think. So currently, under the elected structure, the qualifications are 18 years old and registered voter to be the treasurer and or the tax collector. The accountability is once every 3 years to the voters or through a recall mechanism, which is quite a threshold that the town has. There are no limits on vacation time, personal days, or sick time, and the personnel policies don't apply to the position as well. Under the proposed appointed The appointed individual, like many of our other department heads, would have to have professional credentials, education, and experience. The Division of Local Services, the DLS, recommends this change, as does the Department of Revenue. Our draft 2017 master plan, which is concluding, makes this recommendation, and our 2010 town government study recommended an appointed collector treasurer. And there is a difference between collector and tax collector. We're proposing a tax collector that collects the property taxes and excise taxes, whereas a collector, which was recommended in 2010, collects all of the monies. Additionally, accountability. There's daily accountability to the residents and the town administrator. It aligns the practices with all other department heads and combining the positions for increased efficiency in the finance departments.
Any further discussion? Mr. Maxon.
Mr. Moderator, Frank Maxon, 14 William Street. This is something, of course, we've been talking about for some time, and one sort of bottom line for me is that when we're considering two different models for our government, the way we've been doing things with elected people directly accountable to the voters, or appointed people accountable basically through the selectmen only, we take a look at the results throughout the Commonwealth for these two models. The only municipalities that have suffered financial failure, embarrassment of whatever sort, have been the ones who have been managed by these professional, appointed, highly paid experts. Every community that has been run by the amateurs, the local people who really are concerned about our towns, have never had that sort of failure. So I can't imagine why we would want to change from the model that has produced the only failures financially for the Commonwealth and go instead of saying with the one that has had none.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Livingston.
Ladies and gentlemen, I disagree with the fact that someone appointed, first of all, isn't going to care. I will use Ms. Gabri as an example. She's appointed. We all know she cares. As far as only being accountable to the Board of Selectmen, that is not true. Now, if they are not doing their job, if they're not following state law, then yes, they would have to go in front of the Board of Selectmen, their boss, so to speak. But at the same time, if any one of you had an issue with the individual who was appointed, same as you would if you were in Target or anywhere else, airline or anywhere else, you would complain, correct? I know I would. And if you felt the situation was that bad and you felt that you were not being listened to, you would probably ask to speak to the manager. The manager in this case would be the Board of Selectmen. Now, if you thought that your emails wasn't getting through to the Board of Selectmen, then you'd probably show up in an open meeting and make sure that you got heard. Now, does that mean you would have to go through all those steps to get heard? No. What I'm trying to remind all of you is that they're not accountable to the Board of Selectmen, which, by the way, the Board of Selectmen is accountable to you. They are still there for you. They do care about their job because they'll care about wanting to do it right. Because one, it makes them look good if they've done it right. And two, let's be honest, that's their livelihood. So they'd want to keep their job, so odds are they're going to want it to be good. So I disagree with what Mr. Maxon just said. And this is something that you, the town folk, have been asking for years. So I'd like you to consider saying yes.
Mr. Hood.
On Saturday, I attended the Association of Town Finance Committee annual meeting, which was a wonderful, fun Saturday. One of the speakers at that was the Assistant Attorney General, and part of what she spoke about was the need for appointed positions when it comes to tax collectors, and clerks. The amount of work that these individuals do and the size budgets that they're dealing with. I mean, we ourselves are a $20+ million entity, and you want to have the right capable individuals in place. Right now, to counter Mr. Maxon's point, a majority of towns and cities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts have appointed positions for clerk and collectors, and everything seems to be running okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Ms. Bedertha.
This question is for Lisa Cabri.
Oh, you address it to the moderator.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes. You address your question.
Lisa, how much more money would we be paying for that salary? Yeah.
Lisa. Yeah.
Okay.
There's like, right now, we have still full-time amount budgeted for the collector's assistant, and she's not working full-time. So the budget will be able to absorb in entirety Susan taking a step down and a pay decrease, and then hiring this position, and then keeping the part-timer as well. So it's a net zero effect, really.
Okay, thanks.
Any further discussion? Ms. Connolly.
Mr. Moderator, good evening. Pauline Conley, 40 Cambridge Street. As a member of the Town Government Study Committee with you, Mr. Horgan, and several others, we did agree that it would be important to appoint a treasurer-collector. However, procedurally, I just have a couple of questions about how this is being accomplished and a distinction between Article 1 and 2. In Article 1, the incumbent elected town clerk would be the appointed full-time clerk subject, or once the act is approved by the state legislature, which, as I understand, is going to take at least another year, or within a year. Under Article 2, the appointment of the treasurer-collector, tax collector/treasurer, because there's a distinction, as Mr. Pomprian indicated. There's no indication of what or who will take that position. Currently, Ms. Copeland serves as treasurer. It would be my understanding, and this is one of the clarifications, that Ms. Copeland would continue on as the elected treasurer until such time as the state legislature approves our decision tonight. Could I get confirmation of that?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pomprian.
Through you to Ms. Conley's question, which we discussed at the October 10th public forum. For the benefit of the body, Articles 1, 2, 3, and 4 are special acts. So upon town meeting approval, they are then sent to the legislature for approval. The legislature will convene in January. We will submit them upon passage, but they don't convene till January. And then the legislature, it varies. I mean, it depends on, again, the state delegation, the calendar, and so forth. In terms of the time frame, it could be anywhere as fast as 2 to 3 months. It could be a year. With respect to Article 1, as Ms. Conley asked, in the warrant, as you can see, the way it is written, if the general court accepts that and it comes back to the town of Ayer, the incumbent elected town clerk, who is Ms. Copeland, would serve as the first appointed town clerk for the balance of her term. With respect to Article 2, as Ms. Conley has asked, because Ms. Copeland is the incumbent of those two positions as well, but she has clearly maintained that she would like to continue in the clerk capacity. If this passed, I'm saying tonight, as well as by the legislature, and came back to the town of Ayer, we would have to do a hiring process to fill that position. Because there is no incumbent. Now, the functions of the treasurer and tax collector, of course, will continue with Ms. Copeland and the other staff that we have. There will be a transition, but that is the mechanics behind it.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Moderator. I have one other question.
Ms.
Or
Connolly.
at least a point of information. For those of you who picked up the Town Government Study Committee report at the door, as you will see on page 5 of 6, one of the recommendations, Mr. Horgan, I think you will remember this, was that we create a finance department headed by the finance manager, who is currently Ms. Gabri, and that the treasurer, collector, or town collector, but this is obviously a tax collector, and any additional support staff serve within that finance department. This article is recommending that the appointment of the treasurer, tax collector report directly to the town administrator currently, or town manager if that article is approved. So what I'd like to hear, and I know because I was at the information meeting, but I don't think everyone else was, why the recommendation of the town government study, which we spent over a year on, isn't being adopted.
Mr. Ponbriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Conley's question, and it is a good question because the report goes back to 2010 that the Town Government Study Committee recommended a finance department. As many of you will recall, when that was put before you, that recommendation was rejected by town meeting. Upon the rejection of that, we put in place an internal finance department. In other words, Ms. Gabri is the finance manager. We meet on a bi-weekly basis along with the benefits and payroll manager, Mr. Johnston, along with Ms. Copeland, who is the treasurer tax collector, and it has worked quite well. So in terms of the finance department, we did not necessarily adopt that exact recommendation, but several years now we have been practicing that. Secondly, with respect to the collector, and as I mentioned, there is a distinction. The Town Government Study Committee recommended a collector. The collector, all monies coming into the town would go to that position as a centralized function, whereas the tax collector that we currently have and also in the proposal collects the property taxes and the excise taxes. We looked at this at length in terms of collectors, and there were recommendations that in this case with the collector, first the salary was considerable for such a position. There are not many town collectors, there are some, so there was a salary concern and also a service concern in the sense that, in one hand, yes, centralizing all of that in one location, but also as it's set up, people go to the DPW to pay for certain things and so forth. So this was the model that we put forth. Respectfully, the Town Government Study Committee did a lot of good work. The finance structure has been in place based on their recommendation, and we have proposed the tax collector treasurer for your consideration.
Ms. Connolly.
One comment, Mr. Moderator, no more questions. If this article is approved, which I recommend we do, I certainly hope Kevin Johnston will apply for the position. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Maxon.
Mr. Moderator, this speaks to the access by voters to information, financial information for the town. Going back to experience, when the Pleasant Street School was being debated, the fate of that, the selectmen wanted it torn down because it would be a money pit to the town. There had been an insurance settlement because of a fire in the building of $10,000. The Historical Commission had been granted care, custody, and control of the building by town meeting, who didn't want the building torn down. 3 successive town meetings, the selectmen told the town meetings, plus other times.
Frank, if you're getting further astray, can you pull back to the point?
Okay, that there was no money to replenish or work on the building because the $10,000 had been folded into the general fund and spent by town meeting for all kinds of things. The 3rd town meeting that happened, the independently elected treasurer got up Now, imagine a highly paid professional appointed treasurer whose job and whose livelihood, his family livelihood, depends upon the goodwill of the selectmen. Our independently elected treasurer, who accounted only to the people, said, no, that's a bunch of hooey. That money has always been in this separate account. It must either be spent by its intended purpose of refurbishing the building, or must be given back to the insurance company. At which case, town meeting, of course, said, let's spend it then on the building, and they did. The rest is history. But this is a sort of thing that is going to be available to us as long as we have independently elected people to whom we can speak directly and who must account to us. If we have elected people whose jobs depend upon other people who may have their own ideas about the way to do things that town meeting may not agree with, it's just going to be too bad. So I think we need to keep these positions, any positions we can, elected so that we have direct authority and direct influence of the people holding them.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Livingston.
Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to increase the efficiency and giving you more bang for the buck, okay? You are not going to lose transparency because we're all covered under state law, so we have to be transparent. The fact that an elected official was able to find a way to save Pleasant Street School, I commend that individual. That individual did their job. But to say that someone who's appointed is not going to do the same thing, I'm sorry, does not make sense to me. Okay? So, again, but let me also point out to you that over the years, and this is all on public record, public video and everything, you have had elected officials in these positions who decided not to follow state law. Okay? And this ended up causing problems for the town of Ayer, numerous fights, possible lawsuits. An appointed person has no choice, which an elected person is supposed to follow the state law too. Let's get it right out there, okay? But an appointed person, their job relies on following state law. You don't follow state law, boom, you might not have a job anymore. It's kind of that simplistic. So again, I'm hoping that you vote yes on this article.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kelly.
Ed Kelly, 20 Oak Ridge Drive. As I look up here, I see 3 positions. My question is one a full-time and 2 a part-time?
Mr. Pompriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, the town clerk is would be a full-time position as proposed by Article 1.
But I'm talking now currently.
Currently, the town clerk currently is an elected position that is a part-time position in terms of the hours. It's 20 hours a week. Ms. Copeland could speak in great detail along with her colleagues that town clerks have evolved, but 20 hours.
Yeah.
The other thing to your question, the tax collector is 20 hours and the treasurer is 40 hours as it stands right now.
Yeah. Well, what I'm getting at, are we going from 2 part-timers and 1 full-timer to 2 full-time people? 2 full-timers? Okay, then maybe that 1,000 is a little off, because now we're talking 2 full-time people with insurance, medical, retirement. What's the true cost of the switch? You know what I'm talking about, Robert.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Pompriand.
through you to Mr. Kelly's question for clarification. As mentioned on this slide is, if you will, the budgetary impact. However, Mr. Kelly raises the question in terms of the fringe benefits, in terms of health insurance and so forth. Depending on the circumstances of the individual, there would be an increase to that cost of approximately $3,000, so the impact would be about $4,000. Again, that's assuming that the position will take the health insurance. Some of our positions don't, and so forth. Through the moderator, thank you for the clarification.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The motion is is passed. Article 3, an act establishing a town manager. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to file a petition with the General Court for special legislation establishing the position of town manager as set forth below, provided that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the Board of Selectmen approves the amendments to the bill before enactment by the General Court, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Luca.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to file a petition with the General Court for special legislation establishing the position of town manager as set forth by Article 3.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Ms. Naring.
Thank you. I would like to just have an explanation of what the differences are between town administrator, town manager, and what the advantages are of making this change.
Mr. Poprand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Nearing. Excellent question that we talked at length with on the 10th. Difference between town administrator and town manager, and why are we putting forth this change? The first thing I want you to keep in mind is don't get caught up in the terminology of administrator versus manager. Let's focus on what the proposed changes are. As you're going to see, the changes are very limited, and they're designed to increase management efficiency in two areas: personnel and procurement. So real quickly, what Article 3 does. First of all, it codifies the current best practices. In your warrant on this article, you'll see sections A through R. There are 17 subsections. Of those 17 subsections, only 8 are proposed changes, which I'll go through. So a lot of these things are codification of what the town administrator is doing now. Secondly, it centralizes and professionalizes the personnel and procurement functions of the administration. It provides formal mechanisms for the town manager to delegate certain authorities to appropriate personnel. Under our current system as town administrator, in the event that something happened to me or whoever's in this position, let's talk position, if something happened to the town administrator, he or she cannot legally delegate certain functions to an appropriate department head. Under this proposal, in the event that the town manager was incapacitated or something happened, to continue with the continuity of government, he or she could delegate certain functions to a qualified department head. It further professionalizes the administration of the municipal government by removing political and intergovernmental conflicts with respect to personnel matters. What the article does not do, it does not change any of the authority and powers of the Ayer town meeting. So all of you as citizens, it does not change town meeting at all. It does not change the authority or the powers of the elected Board of Assessors, the elected Board of Health, the appointed Conservation Commission, the elected Finance Committee by the moderator, the elected Parks Commission, the elected Planning Board, with the exception of the appointed Personnel Board, which I will get to in just a minute. It does not change the authority of the elected Board of Selectmen as the chief executive body of the town. And importantly, it does not change the town's budgetary processes, the capital planning process, and the existing appointment process for volunteer boards, commissions, and committees under the Board of Selectmen. So there are no changes there. So what are the changes in a nutshell? First, the town manager, this is for those who are following the warrant, is Section A. The town manager will be able to hire and fire department head level positions with the consultation and approval of the Board of Selectmen. Now, this is a significant change because, as some of you may be aware, in some town manager forms of government, he or she may have full authority to hire and fire all personnel, including department heads. in researching and putting this together, that is not the appropriate fit for the town of Ayer. On the department head level, in the event of a hire or a termination, there should be a check on that. So the town manager and what we're proposing cannot just unilaterally do that. It's subject to Board of Selectmen approval or disapproval. Secondly, as we have always done with our department heads, we do search committees. And specifically, it hasn't happened in some time, but when we do police chief, fire chief, and DPW superintendent, we always have citizen representation on such search committees. So this is just on the department head level. The town manager will be able to hire and fire non-department head positions in consultation with the respective department head, but will not require Board of Selectmen approval. So right now under our system, all positions, if I recommend a termination, for say an administrative assistant position, a DPW laborer position, and Ayer should be proud it doesn't happen that often, and it's always usually for cause, but under our current model, if a termination needs to be made, I can only make that recommendation. We have to convene the Board of Selectmen, and they have to act on that recommendation. So what's the significance to that? The problem is, from a personnel management point of view, we have to convene the Board of Selectmen, which takes at least 48 hours, and I've had a couple examples where we've had to put personnel on paid administrative leave for up to almost 3 weeks to schedule a quorum for the Board of Selectmen. Additionally, with respect to that, both the town manager and the respective department head deal with the employees on a daily basis. Our Board of Selectmen, whoever they are, that body, should be focusing its energy on policy making, on the larger vision for the town, and not be bogged down in professional management matters that you hire a town manager for and your respective department heads. The town's personnel system will be centralized under the town manager, abolishing the appointed volunteer personnel board, and centralize the personnel system under the professional town manager in consultation with the department heads, Board of Selectmen, and Finance Committee. This is perhaps the biggest change. Right now, under our system, we have a personnel bylaw. The personnel bylaw is 21 years old. It was adopted in 1996. It creates a 5-member appointed personnel board. Those who have served past and present have done a noble job. This is not a reflection on them. We appreciate their service. However, we have found, if you look in the trends throughout municipal government across the Commonwealth, they are moving away from personnel boards in this construct. And I said at the public forum on October 10th, for those of you who didn't see it, that we're not opposed to a personnel board in some construct, but the current construct is not effective and has cost the town. What do I mean? Under the current personnel system, in order to make any change to a personnel policy, a public hearing must be held. So first, it must be brought before the personnel board. So again, you have quorum issues and to get the personnel board together. They have to conduct a public hearing, and if you read in the bylaw, and they have up to, from the time of the public hearing, assuming that closes, have up to 31 days to act on. Municipal personnel management in the 21st century can't work in that model anymore. In other words, in order to comply with federal and state laws and so forth, you need a full-time professional person that makes those decisions for the benefit of the town, that is qualified and knows what those are. And we've had instances where key policies that were very clear, and it's no reflection on the personnel board, it's the construct. It took months for a basic CORI policy that we were required to have under federal law to get that in place, the sexual harassment policy, etc. So what we're asking is for you to centralize that personnel system under the professional town manager. Last, the town manager will be authorized to fix the compensation of all appointed officers and employees within the limits established by the budget in town meeting. That's a very important point. That doesn't mean that the town manager will just pick a salary out of a hat or a salary for a friend or so forth. We have a classification and compensation system in place. That's not going to go away. We have personnel policies and procedures in place that aren't going to just go away, but need to be updated. And the compensation of employees is largely set either by their union contract, if they're a union employee, or the non-union compensation and classification system, or personnel services contract, subject to review and input by the Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and ultimately your approval every spring on the budget. Lastly, and I appreciate the time, Mr. Moderator, and the patience, the town manager will have full jurisdiction over the rental and use of all town facilities. Currently, I am the custodian of the town hall per the Board of Selectmen. This is a change. However, as I said on October 10th, as well as to the Board of Selectmen on October 3rd and the Finance Committee on October 4th, Chief Pedrazi, the fire chief, is responsible for the fire station. The police chief is responsible for the police station. The DPW superintendent is responsible for his buildings and facilities. That's why we hire these professional people. However, ultimately, in terms of centralization, it would be the town manager. And another key point, the town manager will have authorization to procure and execute all contracts under Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, without Board of Selectmen approval. Chapter 30B, Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, is a very specific statute that has to do with the contracts of goods and services to a certain dollar threshold. Currently, all of these, many of these, have to go before the Board of Selectmen. Same thing. It bogs down the board. They're clear-cut. The appropriation is already there. And we're looking to centralize and improve government. Keep in mind that Chapter 30B is overseen by the Inspector General. It is very specific. No contract under 30B by law can be signed without the accountant verifying the availability of funds. All of these contracts would have already been approved, the funding by you through town meeting, again, through the budget process, Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen, and other respective committees having input. But currently, sending every little contract under 30B, these are the little ones, these aren't the big ones. Our capital process stays in place for buildings, vehicles, and they ultimately, everything comes before you. Again, this is a trend towards efficiency. And lastly, the town manager will be authorized to sign the payroll warrant and accounts payables warrant. Both of these documents are public records. They're about this big, come out every other week. They're available in the selectman's office. The accounts payable is for all of the bills that week. The payroll warrant is for the pay that week. Ms. Cabri and I do review them. Currently, it used to be a quorum of the selectmen had to sign them. Under the Modernization Act that passed last year, they allowed the selectmen to pick one selectman. From a managerial point of view, again, in efficiency, we're looking to centralize that process. In fact, Ms. Cabri and I, as part of this, are looking to get both of these so they're available online. They're quite big, but they are public records. Again, the signing of the warrant is more of a ministerial, managerial act that the town manager, the town accountant, and the department heads and the Board of Selectmen are ultimately legally responsible for. And that is a change that, again, is in the interest of moving the government forward. In my almost 8 years here, there have been times it can be difficult, again, to get a quorum or of signatures on that warrant. So those are the highlighted changes. Mr. Moderator, thank you.
Right. Any further discussion? Ms. Bedertha.
Mr. Moderator, I just have a few questions for Robert.
Okay, through me.
Through you. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to know for the contract dollar amounts, what is the highest he can go to approve?
Mr. Bonpriand?
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Bedertha, on the Chapter 30B specifically, the contract threshold is up to $50,000.
Okay. And the other question I had was, are you or whoever wants that position going to change or modify the personnel policies and procedures?
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Bedertha.
Mr. Pombriand.
As I said, they're in place now. They do need to be updated and reviewed. I am completely open to any suggestions on how to achieve that. As long as I'm in the position, it needs to be transparent, and we do welcome, the public input. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not categorically opposed to a personnel board with certain functions, and that could be how it pans out.
Okay, thanks.
Any further discussion? Ms. Connolly.
Mr. Moderator, couple of pieces of information, couple of questions. I gather Mr. Pombriand will answer them. Under the article itself, Mr. Pombriand's memo to the Finance Committee, which was also left on the front table. Under Section A, this is page 2, and as Mr. Pombriand explained under the article, the town manager will be able to hire and fire non-department head positions in consultation with the respective department head. The question is, does that apply to all union employees as well?
Mr. Pombriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Conley. In terms of the union employees, if it is a non-union, in terms of the union position, if it's a union position that's non-department level, it would be the town manager that could terminate that position in accordance, of course, with the terms of the collective bargaining agreement, depending on the circumstance.
So that would include the firemen, the patrolmen, the DPW employees, the lieutenant, anyone who is a non-department head in any of the collective bargaining agreements. The town manager would then be able to dismiss that employee.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Pombriand.
through you, Ms. Conley, as you'll recall at the October 10th forum, we have a strong fire chief, specifically by statute. Under the current system and the proposed system, that doesn't change. The fire chief can hire and fire all of the firefighters, not at once, underneath him. He does not require Board of Selectmen approval. He has always done it as a courtesy in notifying the board. In terms of the police lieutenant, to answer that question, the town manager with the police chief could terminate that position, again, the individual, but for cause. And I forget, did you ask another?
The subset of that was any other union employees, the police patrol officers, sergeants. I knew the firemen, but it was not explained earlier. And then, no, the schools wouldn't apply. And the DPW employees, non-department head.
Yeah, Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Pombriand.
through you. So, yes, any non-department head level position, with the exception of the fire, obviously the library personnel, the schools, this doesn't affect, could be terminated by the town manager for cause in accordance with the applicable collective bargaining agreement, personnel policy, or contract that may be in place.
Mr. Moderator.
Ms. Conley.
With respect to the collective bargaining agreements, there's a grievance procedure for any terminated union employee. That process currently involves the department head, the town administrator, and then ultimately the Board of Selectmen if the employee's grievance is denied at any of the lower levels. The Board of Selectmen then meet, I believe we usually did it in executive session, unless the employee asked for it to be open, and made a decision at that point about the grievance. The employee then could take it further to the state level. Under this new proposal, doesn't speak to grievances in the article, So would the town manager have sole authority to hear and decide all grievances before the employee went to the state level?
Mr. Pombriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Conley. There are 6 collective bargaining agreements that the town of Ayer has that clearly spell out the grievance procedure. That process still has to be honored and followed by whether it's a town administrator or town manager. The majority, not all, of our department heads have what they call a personal service contract that outlines their responsibilities and so forth. An individual could be terminated, again, for cause, and we know those are the very clear things, could also be terminated for performance, but as I think you can all appreciate, in municipal government especially, it's through a progressive discipline. It's not just you make a mistake once. That person, the department heads, the DPW superintendent, for example, if it was going to be terminated under this proposed system, the town manager would make that recommendation, but it would still be subject to the Board of Selectmen's authorization, just as it is now. We did not go that extra step to give that to the town manager. Additionally, as I mentioned through the moderator, the existing personnel policies are still in place in terms of a grievance procedure for non-union personnel. There is some work that needs to be done there, which we're committed to doing. And of course, as I'm sure town meeting can appreciate, any employee, regardless of status, has certain rights, whether prescribed under federal law, state law, or on the local level.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Connolly.
Moving on to Section C of the article dealing with the personnel system, much of which Mr. Pontbriand has explained. The element that concerns me is that if this article is approved, the Personnel Board would be abolished. Personnel Board was established by bylaw. My question, Mr. Moderator, is for Mr. Corbo with respect to how would this article supersede, shall I say, a bylaw? Wouldn't the bylaw then have to come back to town meeting, be amended, be rescinded, be whatever, in order for the Personnel Board and its duties to be abolished? The question for Mr. Corbo.
Mr. Corbo.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. So if this is approved here at town meeting tonight, the proposal gets submitted to the state legislature, and if it's approved by the state legislature, it becomes a statute equivalent to a provision of the Massachusetts general laws. So if there is any provision of the existing town bylaws that are inconsistent with this new statute, the statute would trump the bylaw. If there are such inconsistencies, a future town meeting would likely want to clean up the existing bylaws to make them consistent with the statute. But in the meantime, the provisions of the statute would control if there are any such inconsistencies.
Thank you, Mr. Corbo. Two more really quick questions, Mr. Moderator.
I hope so.
All on different elements of this article, which is extremely lengthy. Section D, the town manager will be authorized to fix the compensation of all appointed officers and employees within the limits established by the budget. Historically, all contracts have been negotiated and then brought to town meeting to be approved under the budget, as opposed to having the budget approved first with the parameters and limitations for salary, compensation, contract negotiations be in place. That's been an ongoing discussion for years, and it has been historically a situation where the budget is usually approved after a contract is negotiated, and that contract is part of that budget process. The budget also will often include a COLA for non-union employees and department heads, which is established in May. Where those contracts and other elements will fall into place remains a question because they all fall at different times. The question regarding this particular issue is whether the town manager will be compelled to first have the budget set by town meeting before he or she can then fix compensation for any appointed officer or employee.
Mr. Corbo?
No,
Oh,
well,
Robert?
doesn't matter.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Conley. As I mentioned in my opening remarks on the issue of the fixed compensation, first of all, a majority of our employees are governed under 6 collective bargaining agreements that are negotiated every 3 years, and the funding for that contract is subject to appropriation by town meeting with your approval. So there will be no change. In terms of negotiating those contracts, the town manager will negotiate those contracts subject to the Board of Selectmen's approval, in consultation with the Finance Committee, as we do now, and come before you for approval on the union contracts. On the non-union folks, those that have a personnel service contract, it's usually for 3 years with the Board of Selectmen, those positions, in terms of the salary, are set by the town's classification and compensation plan, which you can go to on the town's website. That is the governing document. As I mentioned earlier, it would be irresponsible of not only myself, my colleagues, future town managers, and for the town as a whole not to have an agreed upon system that everybody clearly understands in terms of the compensation. So again, we are going to use the non-union personnel and compensation plan for non-union folks. We are going to use the existing personnel service contracts for those who have them. And the board, we spent time tying in those salaries to the grid, so there's uniformity there. That was a long-standing issue. And third, our collective bargaining folks will be governed by their contract. But again, as I also mentioned, the budget process will remain as it does now.
If I might get a follow-up on that one, the compensation plan is approved by town meeting. I believe, if I could ask Mr. Hood, it was 2 years ago that the compensation, give or take. It is, according to the bylaws, supposed to come to town meeting every year for approval.
Mr. Conley, I think you're getting a little off track now.
No, I'm speaking to Mr. Pontbrand's answer regarding fixing the compensation of the non-union employees.
Yeah, but the question is on establishing the town, not...
If you let me ask the question, and then if you feel it's out of order, you can tell me so. But will the compensation plan first be approved by town meeting before the town manager fixes the compensation of anyone under that plan?
Mr. Pontbrand.
Through to Ms. Conley, the compensation plan is already approved and is on the town's website. We are going to continue to follow that, meaning there are steps for folks. All of that funding will be subject to approval by town meeting. That is what we'll use. It will be a clear system, as there is now on that matter, for you as the public to know and understand why salaries are set and how they're governed.
Mr. Moderator, won't beleaguer that point. That does not answer my question.
Hold it. If you're going to move the question, you need to stand up and be recognized by the moderator first.
Dan Swanfeld, motion to move the question.
Is there a second?
But Mr. Moderator, I had the floor.
She's right. She had the floor.
And I only have one final question regarding the town administrator's article, and that is under Section H. And I'm not sure I heard it correctly when Mr. Pontbrand said it, so I just want to clarify. This deals with the use of town facilities, and it says the town manager will delegate authority of the fire station, the fire chief, police station, so on, and DPW. I don't recall any discussion or comment about the library, which is currently under the jurisdiction of the elected library trustees. I just want to confirm that that will remain with the elected library trustees.
Mr. Pontbrand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Conley, Article 3 in no way affects the library, including their facility. As Ms. Conley is aware, it's governed by an independent statute and a board of trustees.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Swanfeld. Is it seconded?
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move the question. It is a non-debatable motion. Therefore, it's put to vote put to a vote immediately. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Therefore, the motion is moved. Now, all those in favor of the act, let me read the top of it again, of changing the position of town administrator or town manager, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is passed. Article 4, an act establishing an appointed tree warden to see if the town will authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation changing the office of tree warden from elected to appointed, as set forth below, provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before enactment, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to approve such amendments as are within the scope of the general objectives of the petition, taking action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Hillman.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for the special legislation changing the office of tree warden from elected to appointed as set forth by the Article 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please state your name and address, please.
Carol Wagner, Groton Street, Ayer. I just have a question about who would be appointing the tree warden and whether or not the newly created town manager would be doing that.
Mr. Pompriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the resident's question. The way the article is written, if it is passed tonight and goes to the legislature and is passed, goes into effect, the incumbent tree warden will become the first appointed tree warden for the balance, in this case, of his term. He was reelected this past spring, so it's a 3-year term. Moving forward, the position would be appointed, and it would be appointed by the town manager, subject to availability of funds. There also could be, the position could rest under the DPW, but the answer your question, the town manager would appoint that position moving forward after 3 years.
If you don't mind a courtesy question, does that also include the newly appointed town clerk and
Actually,
newly appointed
that's
treasurer-collector?
not in order. That's speaking to different
I'm
articles.
sorry, I tried to do that ask that question
Sorry,
on the
yeah.
last one.
That talks about different articles. That's motion. That question is out of order. Any further discussion? Ms. Connolly.
Just a single question regarding this position. Why is it being singled out from other appointed positions? When we had the public information session, Mr. Pompriand explained that this was something that the Board of Selectmen put on the warrant, as opposed, and I realize they put all the articles on the warrant, but this was their request or recommendation. I'd certainly like to know what the background is. There are a lot of rumors circulating around town. I think this is the place to dispel them. Or, if not dispel them, acknowledge them.
It sounded like that was directed right at the selectmen.
I would like to hear from the elected selectmen on this one.
Just as the other positions in town, it's elected. This position can be, you can be elected, and you can offer to do absolutely nothing with the position. This has nothing to do with the person in the position, but it does hold accountability to the position. Because if you read the actual tree warden outline, there's a lot more into the position than just showing up and saying that tree needs to be cut down. We have no issues with the current tree warden, but there should be some accountability to all employees, and as of right now, along with the treasurer and all that, there was none. This allows at least some accountability.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Bedurtha.
I just have one question. Who's going to set that salary?
Mr. Pombriand?
Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Bedurtha, if this article passes, the current salary, because it's an elected position, the stipend is set by town meeting. If it becomes appointed during that interim period, unless there were fundamental changes to the hours and the duties and so forth, we would continue to budget that stipend within the budget. But it would not come before town meeting because town meeting in the sense of a specific stipend to be set by town meeting. It will still require town meeting approval, but in the budget as opposed to a separate article.
That's confusing a little bit. Are you going to set the salary or just the stipend?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pombriand.
The salary of the tree warden, I'm sorry, I called it a stipend. The stipend, the payment of the tree warden, that amount that currently exists will be the amount for the position over the next 3 years unless there was a fundamental change in hours or duties.
So if the fundamental hours and duties change, would you increase that salary?
Only by going through, I could make that recommendation, only by going through the budget process. In other words, a job description would have to be developed. I would go to the Finance Committee for advice, to the Board of Selectmen, and it would be part of the omnibus budget. There are no plans at this point to do that. So the salary would remain what it is for the next 3 years.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Connolly.
I have every right to speak.
I know you
as
do, I do.
everyone else, and I take offense to the rolling of the eyes, Mr. Moderator. But I do want to just elaborate on Mr. Hillman's comment about the responsibilities of the tree warden, which I downloaded from the general laws earlier today. The tree warden shall have the care and control of all public shade trees, shrubs, and growths in the town, except, I presume that meaning shrubbery, except those within a state highway and those in public parks or open places under the jurisdiction of the park commissioners, and shall expend all money appropriated for the setting out and maintenance of such trees, shrubs, and growths. And trees can only be planted with the authority of the Board of Selectmen. So it's not, I hate to say simple, but it's a limited function position. And quite honestly, I think we've had a very good success with our current tree warden, and I see no reason to not let him remain in that position should he desire to.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Hillman.
There's been 3 trees planted in the last 7 years, but that's beside the point. Again, this position comes up. The current position holder decides to not run again. Anybody over the age of 18, whether they have any tree experience, any arborist experience, any landscape experience, wants to collect the stipend and run for the position is theirs. So again, it allows for someone to be qualified in the position at all times.
Any further discussion? Actually, I'm going to let Mr. Scotchless go first. Okay. He hasn't spoken on this subject yet. Mr. Scotchless.
Thank you. Markham Circle. My question is, why the tree warden? I mean, that's a minimal thing. It's not like being in the town hall with the tax collector, the administrative assistant. It's just a little thing. I don't know what he gets for a salary, a stipend or anything, but I've been around here a long time, and I've seen him jump up when the town needs something done. I've seen him jump right into it. I've also seen branches falling down on roads. He's got right up there and got it out. If he can't, if it's too big for him, he calls in the DPW or the usually flagged tree. But I mean, I don't know why we're picking on a little tree warden here.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Hillman.
This has nothing to do with the current holder of the office. This is to hold, if he does not choose to run again. Like I said, you could end up with someone who has no experience. I've heard good things about his response time. I don't know the man personally. This is nothing personal. And it frustrates me that that got out there because it has nothing to do with personality or anything like that. It's just to hold the position accountable.
Yes,
Carol
go.
Wagner, Groton Street. Isn't that the point, though?
Please speak in the mic, okay? Yeah. They can't hear you. And always said I'm really high today, I noticed.
Yeah. Um, to his point, I just wanted to mention that isn't that the point of the voters, is that he or she that holds that position is held accountable to us, the people, and that anybody, whether you have experience or not, can get into government, and that's the whole point of government?
I didn't hear a question. I heard a statement, but I didn't hear a question.
That was a statement, sir.
Okay. Mr. Hillman?
That was a statement, actually, but that would contradict the other motions that we just made to hold people accountable when they get into office and actually have to answer. So you can get into office now for 3 years and you really have no one to answer to. You know how many times people have said, I'm elected, when they've either not followed statute or laws, and they don't have to answer to the voters for 3 years.
Mr. Moderator, Jessica Gino of Mountain View Avenue. So as I understand it, there's no particular issue with the current holder of the tree warden position. I did have the recent experience of contacting Mr. Pomprian to say there was a huge tree down on the conservation land at Pine Meadow. He promptly called the tree warden, who I presume took his chainsaw and very nicely cut it up and cleared the path. So if that gentleman decided not to run for tree warden in 3 years and say nobody else wanted to run except for me, I could run for that job, get appointed, and I have no idea how to run a chainsaw. So there are certain qualifications that I think for that position do make sense. You wouldn't want me. So I'd say there's good rationale for this, and respectfully, I'd say move the question.
Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It is a 2/3 vote, therefore it is passed. We'll go on to the question. All those in favor of establishing an elected tree warden, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no.
Elected, it's not, it's appointed.
Oh. I said again.
I am awake.
Okay.
It's because I hit him.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor of establishing an appointed tree warden, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Therefore, the motion is passed. Ms. Connolly, questions of vote. May I have my two counters come here too? All those in favor, please hold up your blue cards or purple cards. If you're in the back row and you're voting, vote is not being counted. All those opposed, please raise their blue or purple card. Vote is 100 in favor, 18 opposed. The motion is passed. Article 5, Ayer Cultural Council membership. To see if the town will vote to establish a local cultural council to consist of 9 members to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen for staggered terms of 3 years. Any such member not to be appointed to more than 2 consecutive terms, with members having demonstrated scholarship or creativity in or distinguished service to the arts, humanities, or interpretive sciences, in accordance with the general requirements of General Laws, Chapter 10, subsection 58, or take any of the action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to establish a local cultural council to consist of 9 members as set forth by Article 5.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Nearing.
I just want to explain briefly that I'm on the Cultural Council, and we have been trying to be more proactive and do additional cultural programs, and we've struggled to have a quorum, and we haven't been able to do much this summer because of that. Our quorum requirement had been 12 people, and we're asking to lower it to something that's more reasonable. Right now, we have enough people to meet our quorum. This just help make us more efficient and be able to utilize the funding we have more effectively.
Any further discussion? Ms. Bedurtha.
Mr. Moderator, at any point in time, will this be funded?
Mr. Pompriant.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Mr. Bedurtha, this is not a funding article. It's just to set the number of members of the Cultural Council to 9.
It already exists, Elizabeth. Yeah. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is passed. Establishment of a conservation fund. To see if the town will vote pursuant to the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 40, subsection 8C, to establish a conservation fund with the treasurer to be the custodian thereof and authorized to deposit or invest the proceeds thereof in accordance with the statute, and income therefore to be credited to the fund. Money in said fund may be expended by the Commission without further authorization for any purpose authorized by said statute, except that no expenditure for a taking by eminent domain shall be made unless such expenditure has been approved in accordance with statute. The fund may receive gifts and donations, and the town may appropriate money in any year to the fund or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Luca.
To the moderator, I want to apologize to the group for choking a little while ago. But I'm okay. Move that the town vote pursuant to the provision of Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, to establish a conservation fund as set forth by Article 6.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the article?
Mr. Moderator, I yield to Mr. Daniels.
Mr. Daniels.
Mr. Luca. Good evening. My name is Bill Daniels. I'm with the Conservation Commission. This is Janet Pravdakis. She is with the
Community Preservation Commission. And we go ahead and give our thumbs up to creating this fund. And the reason behind it is we can go ahead and work on acquiring land in more of a rapid response to go ahead and have those funds available. And if Robert wanted to go ahead and add a little bit more, yeah, can you hear me? Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Can
Right.
I also have Mr. Humphrey?
Mr. Pompriant.
Mr. Moderator, through you, Article 6, the establishment of the Conservation Fund, is very specifically governed by Chapter 40, Section 8C of state law. So why are we doing this? It will allow the town to potentially acquire open space and or conservation land using the funds that are put in this fund, which we'll get to the next article, which is Article 7. One of the challenges that the town has in the acquisition of open space and conservation, so keep that in mind, it's very specific. It's not just any type of land, and as the moderator read in the article, eminent domain is not applicable. This fund would be under the 5-member appointed Conservation Commission. The town treasurer is the custodian of the funds, and it would enable the Conservation Commission to acquire or purchase potential open space or conservation land through the fund without having to go through town meeting. Now, under our current system, and this is just open space and conservation, town meeting meets twice a year. The timeline is not conducive to the acquisition of potential conservation or open space land. Over my tenure here, we have missed many opportunities due to the timing of town meeting. Now, the funding for this article, again, is through town meeting, in this case, the CPC. The other advantage to having a conservation fund, as the moderator read in the article, we can also use this mechanism to accept gifts of land, financial contributions, whether they're willed or estate, and it provides the town a more robust mechanism in terms of the acquisition of conservation and open space.
Any further discussion? Ms. Bedertha.
This concerns me a little bit. That's a lot of money. That's $500,000.
We're not talking the money yet.
Let's start up the Conservation Fund first.
Okay.
Because the Conservation Fund is the Massachusetts, Mass General Law way of having that money's available. Okay? So that's why the fund needs to be set up first. Then we can talk about the monies.
The money is the next article.
I have a question for the attorney.
Mr. Cobo, what's your question?
My question is, Mr. Moderator, that once that land is purchased or gifted, who is going to pay the taxes on that property?
Actually, I'm going to rule that question out of order. Now, that is not, the question before us, Elizabeth, is whether or not to establish a fund.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, just establishing a fund.
Okay.
What the fund is eventually used for is not part of the question right now. The question right now is whether or not we want to establish a conservation fund.
Can I ask the attorney if you're correct?
No, you may not. Town moderator's on ruling of parliamentary procedure.
Okay.
Is his word is it? You know.
Can I ask that question on the next article?
No, you cannot. Because it hasn't been decided what to be doing with it yet.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Bresnahan.
Kevin Bresnahan, Wachusett Ave. I'm just interested, are there any current parcels of land or anything that you have earmarked that you intend to do if this is approved?
Mr. Daniels.
Mr. Moderator, through you. Mr. Bresnahan, at this point, one of the reasons to establish a conservation fund, excuse me, one of the reasons to establish a conservation fund is that we have had many missed opportunities and just one success. The one success was a few years ago when folks might remember Mr. Tooker was able to wait for us to go through the whole town meeting process so that we could buy his land. Since that time, we have waited for folks. Folks have come to us, but we haven't been in a great position to go to people and say, listen, we see that you have this land which right now is in conservation. We'd like to at least be considered if you were interested in gifting it or you were thinking of selling it in the future. So right now, we are excited to prepare such a list. We did, through Ms. Pravadakis, we did pull down the list of properties in town that were under 61A. For folks who aren't familiar, Chapter 61 and 61A are two tax instruments where folks who have land either in forestry or agricultural can get a lower tax break. So for instance, if I had 20 acres, I could put that in Chapter 61A. I could get a lower tax rate, but I have to provide a plan for what I'm going to do with it for 10 years, and I have to say that I won't develop that land during those 10 years. So oftentimes when folks put their land into conservation through Chapter 61A or 61, they already have a long-term plan for protecting that parcel. And when you buy your house, and when this gentleman buys his house, we all get used to that land being open space. This is an opportunity for the town of Ayer to move much more quickly to give people an opportunity to sell us property that we all might be interested in remaining in open space, as opposed to seeing it developed right next door to you, and there was no discussion because the town didn't have the opportunity to act. I hope I answered your question.
Mr. Kern.
Ken Diskin, 180 Washington Street. I'd like to thank the Conservation Commission and CPC for presenting this article. I've attended a number of their meetings where I've seen the frustration of not being able to act in a timely fashion on land that was available for the town to buy. So I'm a strong supporter of this article. I also hike a lot at Pine Meadow Conservation Area currently, and I'm very pleased with that land. I'm not sure if the town realizes we have members of the town meeting, realize we have a great asset already in town, and I'd like to see those assets continue to be built, because I think in the long run, the town of Ayer is going to definitely benefit from any open space we can maintain for the citizens of the town of Ayer. Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion is passed. You're welcome. Nope, not at all. Article 7, transfer article. Transfer funds from the Community Preservation Fund to the Conservation Fund. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $500,000 from the Community Preservation Open Space Fund to the Conservation Fund, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Hillman.
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $500,000 from the Community Preservation Open Space Fund to the Conservation Fund.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Daniels.
Okay, well, I was going to say...
Oh.
We would be remiss if we didn't.
Or Ms. Provodakis.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As you can tell, when I went ahead and created the PowerPoint slide, these are the department or the committees that have gone ahead and given it to approval. One of them up there is the Open Space and Recreation. So if we can go to the next slide. I want people to know that these are going to be the Mass General laws that are going to oversee the rules and guidelines for this fund, so which means you can't do anything outside of their parameters, and their parameters is to go ahead and only work on land and open space. Next one. Now, I want people to be aware of, because a lot of people wonder, the CPA monies. All right, that's the 1% surcharge that you have on your tax every single year. These are the only 3 qualifications for those funds. You can put it in open space, you can put it in historic, and you can put it into housing. All right, with that, majority of the time, it always has to be at least 10% in each one of those buckets. We've been putting in a lot more in open space because that's really what we want to go ahead and save. So we go to the next slide. You can see that the current balances as of January of this year, we're looking at approximately $1.2 million in open space. We want to spend it. I've put in articles or letters to the editors saying that if there are any type of open space opportunities, let us know, because again, we have the funds to do it. However, as everybody's been talking about, it takes time. You've got to go ahead, the public hearing, which is fine because we want everything to be transparent. All right, but then you've got to go to town meeting to go ahead and get that monies then, and as Mr. Pumperand said, you've got 2 town meetings, so which means we're limited. And as Bill was talking about before, took a property, they were able to wait. A lot of people can't. They want to go ahead and see what's available. So if we go ahead and say if this article passes, the Conservation Commission will get the $500,000. Yes, it's a lot of money, okay? I know I'm going back to the prior, all right? But this goes ahead and tells people we're serious, that we now have funds that we can leverage, that, if there is the possibility like open space and rec want to have a contiguous type of walking path throughout the town. we can then go ahead and approach individuals and say, we've got monies available. All right, if we want a larger parcel that may end up being more than $500,000, well, is that parcel abutting some of our neighbors that happen to be conservation already? Maybe they'll help out. Again, it gives more of a, emphasis to, we're taking this seriously. And having that money inside open space for CPA funds, it's there. We want to spend it. We want to go ahead and be able to use it wisely to keep Ayer the way it is. So with that. So again, that leaves, these other balances. I don't know if you guys can all read them, but it still leaves $720 more in open space, and we still have the monies for housing and historic, and there's one called undesignated, which that's where like a lot of the recreation items go. The other thing too that I want to emphasize is on the next slide. So if people go, well, what have we been doing with these monies? We have spent approximately $2.2 million already since the CPA Act has been enacted here in town back in 2001. 2002 was our first expenditure. So with that, we've spent $567,000 already on an open space. Housing, $722,000. Historic, $454,000, and $474,000 for recreation. So we have been spending monies on the town itself. But this here, like I say, gives us a little bit more of a rapid response to open space and conservation land. Right? And on the last slide is Tooker property, so we can already went over that. Bill, do you want to add anything else?
No, thank you, Janet. The only thing that I would want to mention, just so that everyone is really clear, when the Conservation Commission gets $500,000, it doesn't mean that we get $500,000. Everything still works the same way it worked before. So when there was money set aside for open space, it's open space money. This just gives us the ability to hold public hearings, to respond quickly if someone were to take their land out of Chapter 61. So like we were talking about before, there's something called a right of first refusal. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. There were some properties here in town that came out of Chapter 61, out of their 10-year plan. When that happens, the person who put it in the plan is required to give the town the right of first refusal. The town has only so many days to act. It typically doesn't fall right on a town meeting or just when you want it to. We don't have enough time to respond. The town can only buy land that it has funds for. That's the law. It says it right in the chapter and verse of this Chapter 40, Section 8C. The town cannot buy land it doesn't have money for. So I can't promise this gentleman that I'll buy his 40 acres and we don't have the cash for it. What I can do is I can tell him we have $500,000 and potentially enter into negotiation for his 40 acres because that gives us some leverage. It gives us the ability to potentially have him work with us as we move up to town meeting. That's what this is really about. This is spending your money for the things that you already wanted it spent on. And we're super excited about having a number of different hearings to talk about properties that we're talking about as far as Chapter 61, the larger properties in town, approaching people and saying, please consider giving this property or selling this property to the town of Ayer. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Bedurtha.
David Eartha from Coolidge Road. My question was, as the CPC and the Conservation Commission, I want to say I'm totally in support of this, being on the commission for many years and seeing some of the frustration before. But have you, the two groups discussed the fact, is there any kind of a, if there's some sort of a conflict, because we're going to fund this with CPC funds. If there's something that CPC, in the CPC rulings doesn't exactly match up to what the Conservation Commission wants to use, is there some, have you discussed if there's, what I'm saying, it's just some sort of a weird thing that where CPC, if it was just under CPC funds, you wouldn't be able to do it, but where the commission, I'm trying to get at?
Good evening, Mr. Bedurtha. I don't, but what I can tell you is that the whole purpose of this is to stay inside of the public meeting venue that we did when we worked on the Tooker property, and it would be the same public venue that we would have for any other purchase we would ever make. So if there were questions and concerns that the CPC and the Conservation needed to work out, it would happen in a public hearing.
Okay, I guess that was my question, is basically the CPC is not going to be involved with these decisions.
I don't think that's an accurate statement.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand. So it's, because you get the $500,000 which will be coming from CPC. Any other funds in there that are donations or given to the fund could then be used totally by the Conservation Commission without any contact to the CPC through the whole hearing process.
So, to answer your point directly, the Conservation Commission could use these funds without communicating with the CPC. That's absolutely true in the most general sense.
Yep.
But the reality of it is that these funds came from the CPC, and I think we all know that as we look to go after larger parcels, we're going to be going back to the CPC for additional funding. The idea is to come up with a list of what we're trying to accomplish, and then beginning a goal list together so that we can work together on it. Because there are other options. Some of the ways that we might be able to help the town might be historic. And so this makes it possible for the CPC and the Conservation Commission to work together to purchase properties or land that make more recreation and open space for people in town.
Great. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Ms. Bedertha.
I think this might be my last question. I don't know. Mr. Chairman, Bill?
Mr. Moderator first.
Mr. Moderator. Bill, if we use some of this money, could it possibly avert any clear cutting like has happened already? Could it, that if we had had that money, could we have bought that land over near Oak Ridge before that was bought and used? Or could that have been averted? That's what I'm asking.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Daniels.
So, Liz, first off, there are a couple things that would have to happen. First, as you can imagine, the person who is selling the land has to be interested in selling it.
Okay.
So the number one thing that we all have to face up to is if someone wants to use their property to, for instance, break it up and put more homes on it for their children, then that's their right. That's their property. What we're offering is an opportunity to those people to potentially buy those parcels, especially if they're available. But that's all we can do is offer to buy.
Okay.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is unanimous, therefore it is passed. Article 8, to supplement prior borrowing votes to permit the application of bond premium to pay project costs. To see if the town will vote to supplement each prior vote of the town that authorizes the borrowing of money to pay costs of the capital projects, to provide that, in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, the premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes thereunder, less any such premium applied to the payment of cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to pay project costs, and the amount authorized to be borrowed for each such project shall be reduced by the amount of any such premium so applied, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to supplement each prior vote of the town that authorizes the borrowing of money to pay costs of capital projects, to provide that, in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, and as set forth by Article 8.
It's moved and seconded. Is any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. Article 9, transfer article. Transfer funds from stabilization account for the purpose of funding mandated retirement contributions for town personnel who actively served in the military. To see if the town will vote to transfer the amount of $16,577.23 from the town stabilization account for the purpose of funding the mandated retirement contributions of 2 town employees who actively served in the military while employed by the town, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Luca.
I move that the town vote to transfer the amount of $16,577.23 from the town stabilization account for the purpose of funding the mandated retirement contribution of 2 town employees as set forth by Article 9.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Luca.
this was a change in the law that mandated us to contribute to their funds, so that's why it's up for vote.
Okay. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. Article 10, Community Preservation Funds for the historic renovation of the former fire station cupola and roof. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $30,000 from the Community Preservation Historic Fund for the purpose of funding the historic restoration of the cupola and roof of the former fire station on Washington Street, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Hillman.
I move that the town vote to transfer the amount of $30,000 from the Community Preservation Historic Fund for the purpose of funding the historic restoration of the cupola and roof of the former fire station on Washington Street.
It's been moved and seconded. Is any discussion? Ms. Bedurtha.
This gentleman got this property for practically a song and dance. Why are we paying for his roof?
Mr. Pombriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you, I would ask the Economic Development Director, Mr. Manoyan, to address that point.
Perfect.
Mr. Benoyan.
Okay, thank you, and through you, Mr. Moderator. I did bring some images tonight, hoping just to so folks could visually quickly, connect with what we're talking about. So here, in fact, yes, is the 1934 historic Ayer Central Fire Station building. What makes this building so very important, not only locally, in the state and nationally, is the fact that it was designed by George Ernest Robinson, who was the recognized father of modern fire station design. He was a very important architect based in Boston, graduate of MIT. Ayer, your town is blessed to have, in fact, one of the few precious George Ernest Robinson colonial revival fire stations that survived. I know from my research working on this project since I arrived here in May of 2015, I'm sure many of you folks here tonight and others starting in, my goodness, I believe 2003, spent many hours, the Fire Station Reuse Committee, a great deal of effort, participation, volunteerism has gone into saving this building, finding a path to repurposing it, all right, to serve future generations in the town. So I know going back a few years, there was an RFP process. It did not pan out, not successful. Again, I arrived here in May of 2015. The building is in an extreme state now of advanced deterioration because it's been vacant and empty for so many years. I was then tasked with saying, let's get an RFP out again. Let's take one more try at saving this very important building to serve again the future interests of our community in downtown. We went through a first RFP issuance. We only had one response. That one response offered $1,000 as a purchase price. And frankly, the probability that if the numbers didn't come together, there was a very good chance if that went through, it was going to be demolished and simply more surface parking lot added to our downtown, which actually now has gone over the tipping points, hurting our economics of the downtown. The Board of Selectmen then afforded us the professional consideration of being able to issue one more last try to save this building. We issued another RFP, and in fact, this time we had 3 responses, submissions, okay? The one response, the most favorable, that really met all the conditions, meaning we want this important building preserved. We want to see it, the exterior of the building preserved and restored properly, okay? And we want to make sure that the redevelopment now is going to contribute to the economic vitality of downtown We feel very good the fact that it is now will be redeveloped, if this, well, it is going to be redeveloped, it's happening, will then now go on the tax rolls, which it has never before. It's always been tax exempt as a municipal property. The estimate for the redevelopment of this project is probably upwards of $900,000, which is going to be put into this and renovated as between 7 and 9 really beautiful new residential units in our downtown, one of which will be designated as for low and moderate income. What our main concern is, we have downtown Ayer, we do have a historic district in our downtown. For whatever reason, years past, this building was not included in the historic district downtown. The building is not. It's the only George Ernest Robinson fire station, from my research, in the nation that is not on the National Register of Historic Places. It's not, and we attempted to, because of the 2 modern bays that were built on the sides of the buildings, one in the 1970s, one in the 1990s. Without the removal of those bays, the Mass Historic Commission will not designate it on the National Register. And so right now, this building has no protections whatsoever in terms of its historic integrity. And the reason it's important to restore its integrity is because it's an iconic property and it's part of Ayer's heritage, irreplaceable heritage. These are the things that make Ayer Ayer in a one-of-a-kind place. These are the things that must be preserved. And if it can be brought back now on the tax rolls, and it's going to contribute, because now you're going to have vibrancy downtown with more residential use in the downtown. And these folks, by the way, that will be going to this place most likely will be using our commuter rail service, and this is what the whole vitality of the new downtown is. Why are we contributing $30,000? And by the way, that $30,000 represents about 3% of the total redevelopment budget, a very modest request from my professional experience doing this for almost 30 years. We're most concerned with the preservation of the original cupola, which is amazing that it survived this long. The slate roof is still there, which again is amazing that the slate roof has survived all this time. And the stepped brick gables on the end, you see there, which makes it colonial revival. Those stepped brick gables are already tearing apart now and literally close to coming down. The person going and redeveloping this does not have to save that cupola. It's not functional to the redevelopment plan. What makes it important? It's an important public asset for future generations to preserve. The same with the slate roof and that architectural feature. So by using our community preservation funds, which that's what it's there for, and it has been articulated in our master plans, in all our redevelopment plans, that this property, the people of Ayer have spoken, preserve this important iconic building for future generations and to contribute to our future economy. By providing that modest $30,000 only to be used and directed, and by the way, that $30,000 will not cover the entire cost of the restoration and preservation of the cupola roof. It's simply a participation. What it gets you all, as taxpayers and the public interest, you now have a measure of control and partnership, because what we put into the contractual agreement with the developer is that if you go forward with this and do the development, we execute our contract, that cupola, the slate roof, and the step brick gables must be restored in accordance with the U.S. Department of Interior, National Park, historic material standards. This is in our purchase and sales and a contractual agreement. So as they go forward now, not only will it be restored and saved, but we'll be able to provide the actual oversight during this process that we'll be inspecting and making sure that the proper materials are used and it's done in that accordance. So for the $30,000, folks, it's giving us, you, the public, a sense of partnership and control to make sure it really is done right and preserved properly. This is why we're participating, and we feel very pleased. We believe we have, in fact, saved this very important building for future generations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? I hear one no, everybody else is aye. Motion's passed. Article 11, transfer borrowing authorization for DPW Operations Center. To see if the town will vote to transfer the unexpected borrowing authorization totaling $126,570 from Article 20 of the May 9, 2016 Annual Town Meeting, DPW-Sewer Enterprise West Main Street Pump Station construction, to pay for the additional cost of constructing and equipping/furnishing the DPW Operations Center, or taking any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to transfer the unexpended borrowing authorization totaling $126,570 from Article 20 of the May 9th, 2016 Annual Town Meeting, DPW Sewer Enterprise West Main Pump Station construction, to pay the additional costs of constructing and equipping and furnishing the DPW Operations Center.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Kelly.
Just a point of clarification on Article 11 and Article 12.
I can't hear him.
I don't know, is it on? Better?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, on the next two articles, we're talking, I believe, approximately $186,000. That's going to be going to construction costs, equipping, or furnishing. But there's no value assigned to any of these three things. We're just handing over $186,000. So it's my contention that he could spend, or somebody could spend, $180,000 on furnishing.
That's Article 12. We're talking about Article 11.
Well, Article 11, they could spend $120,000 on furnishing. There's no designation for money on these three articles.
Mr. Brumpian.
Mr. Moderator, through you, if you're willing, the DPW superintendent has a very brief explanation actually for both articles that will answer the gentleman's question.
Mr. Wenzel.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I was going to have our Economic Development Director present this for me and talk about the historical significance, but and believe it or not, our highway garage is almost as old as the old fire station. So anyway, can we have the next slide? So I'll just give you a little project background. So we did a DPW facility study. If anyone's been down to our garage, what we end up doing is a garage was built in 1970. We did the administrative building addition in the early 90s. We looked at our space needs, facility code and safety issues, and the consultant that did it, who does a lot of these types of facilities throughout Massachusetts, said, well, to really do what you need to do, it's going to cost you between $16 and $18 million. And I said, well, I know the town of Ayer and I know town meeting, and I'm not going to ever go and ask for $16 million. So what I looked at was how could we accomplish the goals that were in the study and do it in a phased plan so we can manage the money and manage the projects and save some money. So I came up with a five-year phase plan that ranged between about $6 million to $11 million, and the big difference depends on farther. The last phase is doing an addition to the existing garage, and that was about $6 million. So I'm not sure what we're actually going to have to do then if we follow the plan and spend the rest of the money. We did as the initial phase at this past Springtown meeting voted money for the operations center and the highway storage garage. Next slide, please. So just a little bit on the current conditions of for this specific facility. If any of you have been down, we term the administration building, it looks like a Chinese restaurant. And as you can see in the upper right corner, that's my office, which I share with the town engineer. We have a GIS intern who works part-time. We also have a senior work-off in the person who's in there. We have meetings in there. If I'm on the phone, Dan can't be on the phone. It's a little crowded. And right behind me is the men's bathroom. So I'm dealing with noises and smells all day also. So anyway, and then this is our storage closet down in the lower corner. Yeah, works good. So the background for this specific project, using the space plan, the engineers said, well, to build a new administration building with everything that you really need for the town, not just for now, but for the future, would cost about $1.7 million. And I'll tell you right now that their cost was really about $2 million, but I looked at it and I go, well, we don't really need to spend that much because they had a lot of engineering and testing and things that both me and the town engineer could do. But we developed an alternative plan looking at using modular construction. And if anyone drives down Littleton Road, right after you cross into Littleton, Triumph Modular is on the right side as you're heading towards Route 495. Their office building is a modular building. They mostly do construction trailers and things, but they build a lot of modular school buildings. And if you go in their office building, it's a pretty nice structure, and it's modular. So we worked with them to see if we could save some money, and they said we could do a modular type building for about $900,000. And so we designed and bid the project in accordance with Massachusetts general laws. Next, please. So we designed and laid it out for what we need for our current space, for other public meetings, for training. We did have some additional space, 5 to 6 workstations for overflow of other town departments. We located right on the DPW site, so it's close to the operations. And it'll include better security, better storage, a secure IT room, and a kitchen, so I don't have to wash my dishes in the bathroom anymore. Then what we'll do is the highway division will move down to our administration space now. Right now, all the highway guys are in a small room, which is their offices, their desks, their lunch room. And as you can probably imagine, in the winter, they spend a lot of time there, and they sleep at their desks or sleep in their cars. So they'll have more space to do their jobs. Next, please. This is a quick floor plan. So we have we have different offices. We have a small lunch area up in the upper right corner. We have a training area. We do have a conference room down the lower corner that can be used not by just DPW, but for other town departments. I know I've tried to schedule meetings at Town Hall, and sometimes you're stuck in that little room outside the assessor's office, so it'd be nice to have another good meeting place in town. And as you can see, it's nothing fancy. Next slide, please. These are just some of the architect renderings of what the building would look like. It's a pretty utilitarian layout. Next slide, please. So where are we in funding? So we May town meeting in 2016 approved $75,000 for design and procurement. Since we went to the modular design and we did a lot of it in-house, we've only used about $25,000 of that. This past town meeting approved $900,000, and we did review this with Triumph Modular and felt it was an adequate budget. So we have about $950,000 available. Next slide. So we did receive bids. They ranged from about $1.1 million to $1.3 million. But we can't award the contract unless we have sufficient funds in place to award it. So we can't negotiate with the contractor and say, well, we only have $950,000, so what can we cut out? Well, we actually have done a little bit of that, but not seriously. So what we need to do is raise and appropriate a little over $150,000 more to award the bid, and then we're going to negotiate with the contractor to see where we can do some additional value engineering and save some money, and they have some ideas. The other option is to reduce the scope of the project and rebid it. The negatives to that is we're not going to get the same building we're looking at. It could still come in over budget, and it'll also take a lot more time. Can we have the next slide? So what we would probably have to do from talking with the modular people is we'd have to eliminate about a six of the building. And so it'd be much smaller. We'd have to rearrange it a little bit, but you can see it doesn't have the same function that we had before. So what we're proposing is that we receive the additional funding, and that the money that we're proposing is from leftover borrows from other articles. So as you can see, we're pretty cost conscious when we're doing our projects. We try to keep the projects as efficient as possible. So we have some money left in some of the other borrow articles that we've approved in the past. Then we would award the contract at the bid price of $1.1 million, and then we could sit down and negotiate and say, well, what if we change this material? And they actually gave us some ideas of where some excess costs could be, and some are as simple as changing the type of windows that we specified, changing some of the finishes and furnishings, possibly modifying the ceiling design and some of the materials inside. So those are the types of things that we would negotiate. And so these are the two articles that we'll be addressing. And I'd like to thank you for your consideration, and I'll take any questions.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Moderator, sorry. I'm not opposed to this, but if you need $150,000 for construction, why don't we say that and put it in there? Could you not also put $149,000 into furnishing the way this is written?
We could.
Yep.
I hope that over the 5.5 years I've been here that you know that I don't spend the town's money unwisely. I look where we can save, and this is for the overall project. One of the things that I'll mention on the furnishing is, I don't know if you remember at town meeting you voted more money for new furniture in the fire department. Well, we've got some of the hand-me-downs to put in our new building. We're going to move a lot of the furniture over from our existing building. So I could spend, I would have to spend $1.1 million on what the job was bid, and whatever was extra we could spend on furnishings.
Okay, what I'm asking you, would you tell this public then that you will absolutely spend $150,000 on construction?
To award the contract,
yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is passed. Article 12, transfer of unexpected bond proceeds for DPW Operations Center. To see if the town will vote to transfer the following amounts that were previously appropriated and raised by borrowing under the following votes of the town. As such amounts are no longer needed to complete the projects for which they were initially borrowed, to pay the additional cost of constructing and equipping and furnishing the DPW Operations Center. Amount to be transferred, $35,035. Article Warrant 2, June 8, 2015. Special town meeting. Stony Brook Pump Station, $24,822. Article 18, May 13th, 2013, annual town meeting. Culvert replacement, Victor Drive, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Luca.
I move that the town vote to transfer the following amounts set forth in Article 12 that were previously appropriated and raised by borrowing under the following votes of the town set by Article 12 to pay for additional cost of constructing and equipping furnishings, the DPW Operations Center.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Luca.
Again, like the previous article, these monies were already appropriated and raised, and just will be transferred for use of the budgeted. Well, the fact that the budget, what we budgeted for the DPW project, all the bids came in over. So this is going to go toward that.
Okay. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is passed. Article 13, Recreational marijuana retailers general bylaw. To see if the town will vote to adopt the following recreational marijuana retailer general bylaw and to authorize the town clerk in consultation with the town administrator to assign appropriate numbering of this bylaw so that it may be in compliance with the numbering format of the town bylaws. Non-medical marijuana retailer. There shall be no more than one non-medical marijuana retailer as defined by General Laws, Chapter 94G, subsection 1, as an entity licensed to purchase and deliver marijuana and marijuana products from marijuana establishments and to deliver, sell, or otherwise transfer marijuana and marijuana products to marijuana establishments and to customers or consumers, permitted to locate and operate within the town of Ayer, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Hillman.
I move that the town vote to adopt the recreational marijuana retailer general bylaw as set forth by the Article 13.
It's been moved and seconded. Is any discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Hillman.
May I ask Attorney Corbo to offer some explanation of...
Attorney Corbo.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. With these two articles, Articles 13 and 14, the Board of Selectmen are recommending that you approve the adoption of two bylaws, a general bylaw and a zoning bylaw, that would allow you to limit the number of non-medical marijuana retailers that can operate in the town of Ayer to one. So what this means is that under the state law, as recently amended in the state legislature, there is going to be established a cannabis control commission that is going to license certain establishments that can sell recreational marijuana at retail to members of the public. This is for non-medical purposes. Under those regulations, there is currently no limit to the number of establishments that can operate in any one particular community. The statute, however, gives each community the option of regulating at the local level and deciding how many establishments you want to have operating in your town. In the town of Ayer, because the ballot question to approve recreational marijuana was approved by the voters, there's a two-step process that must be accomplished in order to achieve this type of regulation. Okay? First, you have to actually adopt a bylaw that sets the number of establishments that you wish to have operating. In this case, the Board of Selectmen is recommending that it be limited to one establishment. And because that number is less than 20% of the number of liquor licenses that you're authorized to issue in the town, the measure also has to be approved by a ballot at a town election. And it's my understanding that if these measures are passed here tonight, the Board of Selectmen will indeed schedule a special election to put this question to the voters at a general election. The final piece of the puzzle here is, as you'll see, we're recommending that you adopt both a general and a zoning bylaw. And that's because the way the law is written, there's some current uncertainty as to whether this measure can be done through a general bylaw or whether it can be done through a zoning bylaw. Since this is a brand new law, we don't have any court decisions or precedent to look at to help us interpret it. And when previous attempts have been reviewed by the Attorney General's office, they recommended this sort of belt and suspenders approach. So, you know, it may turn out to be that you only need one of these bylaws, but at least if you have both on the books, you'll be fully protected for any situation that might arise. Does that cover it, Chris?
Before we get going here, I want to remind everybody, the debate is on whether or not we'll establish one license in town, okay? It is not on whether or not marijuana is good or whether we should have allowed marijuana, okay? It's whether or not we're going to have a license, just one establishment in town, okay? You're the closest to the mic, so I'll have you go first.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jennifer King of Union Street. My understanding of the law, the Massachusetts state law, is that towns may opt out of recreational marijuana. Would passing either Article 13 or 14, then would that limit Ayer from opting out?
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Livingston.
So because we have and jump in if I say this wrong, because we already have the medical marijuana here in town, he's kind of more or less pre-approved through the process. So we can't really say no because he's already pre-approved. So what it was decided that the best way to do this was to limit it to one, so that at least we have a tight control over it. And of course, he would have to follow all the guidelines as far as, how far you can be from a school and everything. The other nice advantages to this questions tonight is that you're basically, if you approve it, you're basically moving it forward to the voters so that it gets a wider audience for the question too. But that's really what it is that, and we've discussed this for quite a while, and it was discussed, I believe, specifically on October 3rd in quite length too, is that because we already have the facility, we're trying to take control and just limit to one. Plus, we're kind of a small town, so I really don't think we need 10 of them, so one. Down the road, a couple of years from now, if things are going well, depending on how everyone feels, you can always ask for one more, but you can't necessarily ask for less.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator, Kara Wagner, Groton Street. I was just wondering why we're choosing one instead of two for healthy competition.
Mr. Pompriant.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the resident's question. Because the whole issue remains somewhat gray in the sense that the state regulations are not even completed yet, they have till July 1st of 2018. And because our options are limited in the fact that, as the moderator mentioned earlier, the debate is not on the legalization issue. That question has already been answered by the voters. The feeling was to set it at one, and then as Selectman Livingston mentioned, it would ultimately be up to town meeting again if you wanted to increase that. But the decision to put this forth was made by the Board of Selectmen for two reasons. One, have an incremental approach to this and some control to it. So that's why it was not expanded beyond one.
Ma'am?
Hello, I'm Susan Coquinos, and I live on Mountain Laurel Road. I understand that one person is pre-approved, so it looks like we're going to have one. Here's my worry. I'm worried about what downtown Ayer might look like when we approve it right away, even before the state regulators have a chance to finish their regulations. And so it seems to me that all the articles that we have passed tonight have done something for the betterment of Ayer. But this one troubles me only because we're probably going to be the first. If we issue the license, we'll be among the first. And I think it's going to be really exciting for people in all the other towns around us when they find out Ayer has a pot shop. And they're going to flood into Ayer. And I'm wondering if we've thought about where we're going to locate the pot shop. Is it going to be in downtown Ayer, where families with kids and strollers and bikers and congested streets are already in downtown Ayer? So I'm really worried about the safety of everybody in downtown Ayer if we've got that pot shop downtown Ayer. And so I guess I'm wondering if we've thought about where we're going to locate it, if the zoning can control where it's going to be located. And of course, there's one last thing that I'm little bit worried about is what's it going to do to our housing values if Ayer is going to be the Middlesex County pot capital, I guess, capital of Middlesex County pot shop. So I guess I'm worried about the kids' safety. How are we going to prevent the kids from unknowingly eating the
I think
edibles?
you're a little out of
What's-
now.
Sorry?
You're getting a little speculation there. You're getting a little off base.
Which one?
On getting the children and smoke and eating stuff.
Oh, no.
Just keep it
No.
straight to the.
No, the pot
Right.
shop is going to be selling edibles, like brownies and gummies that have pot in them. And so,
It's just whether or not we're going to have one license.
one, okay.
Yeah.
One, I understand that, well, the other towns around us have, like Chelmsford and Westford and Burlington and Concord and Lexington and Groton and Westford, did I say Westford? Have said, we want a moratorium for another year or year and a half. So then can Ayer do that if we said no tonight?
A moratorium was voted down at the special town meeting in June of 2013.
Okay, so tonight we decide
Mr.
to limit it to one, whether or not we wanted to limit it to one. Okay, my question is then, can we not locate it in downtown Ayer?
Mr. Pombriant.
Mr. Chairman, through you, and I know there was a lot of material there, and I know the resident was at the public hearing as well. We had basically, if I could just have the one slide to show there were 4 options that we had as a town. Go back. These were the options that the Board of Selectmen began discussing back in the spring. The first, and this is with respect to the issue of retail marijuana. The first one was to do nothing. The town takes no action. We wait until the regulations get in place and go from there. The concern is on doing nothing is there are no controls in place with respect to zoning and so forth. So for lack of a better word, it would be open season on this issue. There'd be no local controls on the issue. It would create a free-for-all situation in town, which when the medical marijuana piece went through initially, to this day, we still get a lot of inquiries on. And in consultation with a lot of other towns and our town council, this is back in the spring, we were advised that you better put forth some type of decision regarding this before the end of the year. The second option that the Board of Selectmen considered, and you may have heard this has happened in some communities, was to ban recreational marijuana in Ayer. Well, a couple of key points. Question 4 passed by 57% of Ayer voters supported question 4 when it did pass. The ban requires town meeting tonight as well as a special election. However, what makes Ayer unique is we have a registered medical dispensary already in town, Central Ave Compassionate Care. As we understand it, even with the ban in place, that facility, because it is established under the Department of Public Health, the way it is now, can still proceed with seeking that license. And through the moderator, that gentleman, the CEO, came before the Board of Selectmen a couple months ago in open session and publicly stated that was his intent. Key, and the gentleman and his medical approach has honored everything that the town has asked. The Board of Selectmen specifically said they had fundamental concerns with it being located in our downtown and Main Street corridors, and the gentleman agreed that it was not the conducive place for that. The ban will also most likely at some point, as Attorney Corbo mentioned, because all of this hasn't been fully put out through the state, would be subject potentially to a legal challenge. The third option, which you had just mentioned, is a moratorium. The moratorium would require town meeting approval. The moratorium must be granted by the Attorney General for 12 to 18 months. It's generally 12 months. And the selectmen in the discussion viewed this largely as kicking the can down the road. Okay, we put a moratorium in place for a year and do what? And we also understand that the moratorium would not, again, prevent the existing registered medical dispensary from proceeding with seeking the license. So lastly, the decision was to set the number of licenses as mentioned, and you can set it to the number equal to the number of total package store licenses. We have 8. It comes down to 1 license. It would require town meeting approval tonight, for both Articles 13 and 14. If that's the case, the Board of Selectmen are prepared tonight. They've posted a meeting to call a special election if it moves forward. It has to pass the ballot. And the established medical dispensary, as we understand it, has preferential status to apply for the license through the DPH. Final point. This is no easy task. Many of the concerns you brought, though the regulations aren't due till July 1st of 2018, we understand that just in the medical case, there will be distance requirements from schools, libraries, daycares, and additional regulations on many of the things that not only you are concerned about, but all of us. But those answers are not available at this time. And therefore, in conclusion, the selectmen are recommending that we set it at 1 license. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Ma'am?
May I just have one more question?
Certainly.
So if we vote yes on the articles tonight and we approve the cap of 1 license, then if it has to be located so far from, let's say, Ayer Library, how far would that be? Could we keep it out of the downtown area? I guess that's my question.
Mr. Pombriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you, again, excellent questions that many have of concern, and I don't mean this in a flip way, but the Cannabis Commission was just convened to start this, and unfortunately, those regulations, they have till July 1st of 2018. There aren't even draft regulations, but we are assuming, based on the medical experience, that there will be those various controls in place, but we don't have any of that information to date.
Ma'am.
Just one more quick one. So if the regulations aren't in place yet, I understand that, can planning and zoning regulate where the business could be located? Or zoning, I guess.
Yes. And that's Article 14.
That is addressed in Article 14, the zoning piece. And again, the facility will, like any in any town, will have to conform with whatever those regulations are. And it's sort of, in some ways, the cart has been put in front of the horse that we don't have the state regulations. And there is another point that I think is very important through the moderator to your concern. In September, at the Board of Selectmen meeting, the gentleman that is the CEO of Central Ave Compassionate Care, when he came forward, he's been very forward with this town and has honored all of his agreements. The Board of Selectmen specifically and pointedly asked him and told them his concerns about it being located where you're concerned tonight. Not only does he agree with them, but one final piece through the moderator, before he can finally get the license, if you will, if he's the one through that whole process, there is a host agreement. It is a required agreement between the town of Ayer and the entity. That host agreement, if you will, gives the selectmen the further leverage, for lack of a better term, to ensure that the locational concerns are honored.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Mr. Bresnahan.
Mr. Moderator. So personally, I don't understand why we think the option of putting a moratorium isn't a better option for us. I understand you're saying that it'll kick it down the road 12 or 18 months, but I wonder, in doing that, are we not giving an opportunity to see if others place a ban If those are challenged, if they're held up, then we know that we would maybe have an option to put in a ban, and we'll let others fight the legal case. It may not stop the existing proprietor of compassionate care, but that's the same option of approving one. If we approve this one, it sounds like to me there's no going back from that. If we put a moratorium in place, we still end up with the same result. If he doesn't move forward with this or he's not able to, it prevents other people from coming in and doing it. And then maybe we'll be able to look at an option of eventually putting a ban in place in 12 to 18 months. One, I want to know if we approve this, is there no going back from one? And two, if we do a moratorium, does it not give us more flexibility, more options down the road?
Ms. Livingston?
What? I can't hear you. Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Livingston?
Hold on, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so first of all, we're asking for one because we want control of it. And there would have to be a host agreement. So we, along with the whole cannabis committee, whoever they are, they've got to pre-approve the guy, and then we would have to. So we would still have control. So if whoever it was that was going to be coming forward for the license, they didn't meet the criteria, we'd still be able to say no and then kind of leave it there. It's kind of like an alcohol license. If we don't want to hand it out, we don't have to hand it out. Okay, and then I don't remember, I've forgotten what the other point was.
Well, so my issue is I don't want this in our town, and it is actually for many of the same reasons. I don't want it around our kids. I think recreational is very different from medical. I don't think it's good for our town. I don't think it's good for the reputation. I don't think it's good for our property, and I don't think it's good for our kids. So I want the flexibility to be able to ultimately prevent recreational from coming into our town. If we approve this, we can't prevent recreational from coming into the town. If we put a moratorium in place, I understand with the current proprietor, we may also not be able to prevent it, but he's the only one so it's the same result as this, but we're not approving one, right? If we put a moratorium, he's not able to put it in place in town, then we're able to ban it. At least then maybe we have an option of preventing it in our town altogether. Personally, that's what I would want. It's the same result, but with more options and flexibility.
Not disputing all the concerns. The only thing I am going to say is I personally, am not worried about the black eye on the town of Ayer because the whole state approved it. So, but if retail is not wanted in this town, then it doesn't come into the town. But recreational will still be in the town. You just won't have the retail in the town. There's the bad part. That part we're still going to have to deal with. But the decision is with all of you.
Sir?
Hi, Barry O'Brien from Mountain Laurel. Yeah, I guess I still just had the question around, the article just allows us to vote between one or multiple, and I guess I still didn't understand why we can't, vote zero, obviously. I mean, I spent the last week walking in Denver and saw what that retail has done to the city of Denver, and it's not good. So, again, I'd love to see what we could do to keep the recreational part of it, the retail part of it, out of the town.
Mr. Pombriand.
Mr. Moderator, specifically to the gentleman's question, again, if we take no action, the existing registered medical facility will proceed with seeking a license and most likely will ultimately get it subject to the host agreement and so forth. Additionally, if we do nothing, there's no control, so it's just an open situation. To the question on the moratorium, as I mentioned earlier, on the moratorium would be for 12 to 18 months moratorium. During that time, as we understand it, the registered medical dispensary that does not prohibit them from proceeding with the license, even with the moratorium in place. The same applies to the issue of doing an all-out ban. which was looked into as well. It would have to be passed by town meeting in the ballot, but the ban does not prohibit the registered medical dispensary from moving forward. Now, the other thing is, the frustrations of many are noted, but this is state law. It is legal in the Commonwealth. Whether we like it or not, question 4 passed not only in Ayer but statewide. So what the selectmen are trying to put forth for the town is the most thoughtful mechanism of control based on the circumstances that currently exist.
Ma'am?
Sue Kennedy, Nashua Street. I think you just answered my question, but I stood in line, so I just want to see if I'm clear, is that we have one person who's already moving forward towards licensing, so we're getting one. And so what this actually does is limit it to that one and give us some control over the one that is already coming. Is that correct?
He said yes. Ma'am?
Ann Papineau, Whitcomb Avenue. I'd just like to present some food for thought. It's a little bit different perspective from what all of the other speakers have said here tonight, which isn't unusual for me. I think this was overreach to try to limit it to one. If we have 8 package stores in this town, you're making the point that somehow recreational marijuana is 8 times worse than liquor. For people that are concerned about what this is going to do to downtown, I grew up in this town. I've lived here many, many decades. We have an enormous liquor store that takes up half a block with a gigantic liquors sign. That hasn't hurt our property values. That hasn't driven our children wild going into the liquor store to try to do things they're not supposed to do. So my point is, I understand that control is important, and I understand why you're trying to do this. That's why we have limits on liquor licenses and so forth. I just think one is overreaching.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Hillman?
We understand what liquor stores bring to communities. They've been here since the end of Prohibition. We have no idea what recreational marijuana is going to bring to Ayer or any other community in this
You
town.
already have it in Ayer. A lot of it.
Medical. Okay.
No, recreational. Recreational.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
There's a big difference in whether you can go into a store and buy a cookie or grow it in your backyard. I'm sorry. But I think we set it at 1. Personally, myself, I didn't vote for the medical, and nor do I support this. But we are stuck, in my opinion, with the 1.
Because
So
the
that's
state
why.
and the town voted for it.
Part of it, correct.
Yeah.
But we don't know what this is going to bring. We can amend this. If this is the greatest thing for the town of Ayer, because we're going to negotiate a host agreement. We are not just pigeonholed into him coming into town. There's a lot of things that go into it with us negotiating stuff for the community as well. Where it goes, what we get back, what he gives back to the community. We start with 10. Who knows what we're going to get? When we approved the medical facility, we had people flying in from Colorado for 3 weeks, every single meeting, trying to get a license in Ayer, from all over the country.
But you're setting up the choice as 1 or 10.
Why not set it at 1, see what happens with that, and then we can amend it. If it's a great thing, then move forward. Doesn't abolish moving this up in the future. This is just setting it as low as we can right now to see what it brings. It could be a nightmare. It could be fantastic.
Yeah, that answers the question. The point is to set it as low as possible for a legal product.
For the time being, yes.
I think it's been asked and answered yes.
So,
Thank you.
anyway.
Ms. Connolly?
Mr. Moderator, several years ago, the town established an adult entertainment district on Barnum Road. So far, no businesses have chosen to situate themselves there. However, question perhaps for Mr. Corbo, does recreational marijuana rise to the level of an adult-only activity? such that at some point, because Article 14 does not specify where this might be located, but would that give us the option of specifying a location to prevent it from being in our downtown business district?
Attorney Corvo.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. To Ms. Conley, I did not review the town's adult entertainment district bylaw, so I can't really give an opinion as to whether. Okay. I still haven't reviewed it, so I can't offer an opinion off the cuff as to whether this particular facility would fit within that district. But that being said, establishing a limit of 1 here tonight does not prevent you from continuing to study the matter and further regulating the location as to where that one facility might be placed, provided that it is consistent with the state law, which, at least as it's written now, appears to require that you allow the conversion of an existing medical facility to a recreational.
To follow up on that, then Mr. Hillier Compassionate Care could actually be both?
That's correct.
Okay. Well,
He said it, but Mr. Hilliard has said it publicly.
that he will not locate it there.
That was part of the agreement as well.
Okay. And when Mr. Hillier came before the board, Chris and I were the dissenting votes, but I will say he runs an excellent facility. I can see it from my living room. The clientele, all of the promises he made to the town have been fulfilled. So I personally have no objection to him obtaining the license, but I don't think it needs to be located, as the lady said, anywhere, and as Kevin said, anywhere in downtown Ayer. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Livingston.
Just to kind of clarify, because we keep talking, it seems like 2 different bylaws at the
Yeah.
same time.
Right.
So the first one is to just set a license, and then the second one, the general bylaw, and then the next article, which we haven't gotten to,
Is the
talks
zoning
about
bylaw.
the zoning.
Yeah. I was giving a little leeway there. Ma'am?
Hi, Laurie Sable, Winthrop Ave. I had the pleasure of visiting a pot shop in Boulder this summer, and it was a very interesting sociological experience. And I had never been to Boulder before, but I can't imagine that it is doing any damage to the economy or to the general environment of a town like Boulder. Of course, I'm not comparing Boulder to Ayer. They're 2 entirely different places, but I hesitate to go along with an idea that a city like Denver, for example, that was mentioned, is somehow worse for recreational marijuana being available there. Also, I wanted to mention that I didn't only walk by, but we actually went in and we were carted. So I don't think that it's a given that if recreational marijuana stores or a store is cited in Ayer, that children will be able to go in and buy their gummies or their cookies there. Of course, older people could go in for them just like they can to liquor stores, and those transactions could take place. But again, I'm concerned that we jump to conclusions that are still not necessarily founded on truth, because it's not happening here yet, so we don't really know what might happen. That's all.
Thank you. Sir?
Hi, James McGowan, Pond Street. Couple people talking about moratoriums, not having any, not having one. The problem with that is the fact that if you look at the history of the ballot questions, first was non-binding for decriminalization, one big time, then binding, medical binding, not binding. Then it was legalization, non-binding, then binding. It is one every single time. So the ballot question people have been very effective of passing stuff across the state. The problem with moratoriums is there's talk about the same people doing stripping money away from any town that does a moratorium. And if we look at the millions and millions of money going through Colorado, who people have already passed it, our town could be stripped of that if we go the moratorium way. Or I hope we don't go that way. Can we amend this to make it 2 because of the talking about competition, but monopolies are pretty bad. Can we start it? Can you do it at 2, or do we have to wait to the next possible time? So that's more of a informational question.
Actually, it's a parliamentary question. Yes, it can be amended on the floor of the town meeting.
Okay, and is it 50 plus 1, or is it 2/3?
I think it's 2/3, it's majority vote.
Majority vote.
Yeah.
To amend it?
Yeah, amend it
if you amend
to
it,
2.
oh, let me check.
You can't amend it, though.
It's town meeting, they can amend it to 2.
Well, if they want to amend it, get used to meetings of saying, no, go die, go back to Colorado.
Surprise, I was right. It is a simple majority to amend and simple majority to pass.
I'd like to make an amendment to make it 2.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Jim, you're going to have to put it in writing, though. Come on up here.
What was the amendment?
To move to 2 licenses.
Oh, for Christ's sake. And why is that? Why is that?
No competition,
To amend it to 2, did you offer a reason?
for no competition.
No, that was on the floor.
Okay, all right.
Floor.
You get some good people in this town. 7,000 people.
Do we have a say in when if there's more than one?
Okay, ma'am.
I heard someone say,
Right now, the only thing on the floor right now is on the amendment, changing it from 1 to 2. No other, we're not talking about the main article now, only where they're going to change it from 1 to 2
that
places.
my comment is directly related to that.
Okay, I just want to make sure, before we get started, I want everybody to know that.
Right. I heard somebody say on the board that they discussed starting at 1 so we had control and see what happens. I thought that was a really wise proposal. And my other comment is we won't have a monopoly because I think Harvard is also getting one. So we won't have a monopoly.
Mr. President.
Well, I think the monopoly was if there's only one in town, but as stated, this is approved across the state, so it's not like there's not going to be a lack of competition. If you approve 2 in our town now, I can't wait to see the headlines and then show the Voice and the Lowell Sun about what Ayer has gone out and done, and there does start our reputation. I would certainly be concerned about that. As Selectman Hillman said, we can amend it up at a later date once we see what it looks like. So personally, I can't believe that we really want to jump in and all of a sudden approve 2 immediately now, and we're stuck at 2 for life when we can simply up it at an appropriate time if we think it isn't hurting the reputation of our town or our community. We have plenty of industry and growth in Ayer. We don't need to attract this business.
Mr. Luca.
Mr. Moderator, I totally agree with Mr. Brejan. I mean, and Mr. Hillman, we can change this in the future. For the sake of competition, put 2 of them out there now. We don't even know how the one's going to work. And we don't even have the laws for it. As it stands right now, this one individual, July 1st, can open up. Okay? That's part of the law that's there. And that hasn't been amended or changed. So I suggest you vote for the 1. I, too, have been in Colorado recently. I think everybody has. I didn't get it on the plane, though.
If you want to move the question, just stand up and be addressed by the moderator first, and there are other people waiting to speak as we go.
Just say I would say a vote against the 2.
Mr. Curran.
Dennis Curran, Pleasant Street and Ayer. I would just like to second that sentiment from Mr. Luca and Mr. Bresnahan. You can always go up. You're not going to get back. You're not going to be able to go down. And it doesn't seem to me wise to not only have the only pot shops around, but also have the cheapest pot shops around. If they want to get into a price war, they can certainly get into a price war with all the pot shops in Fitchburg and Leominster and Harvard potentially, although I'm waiting to see that. So I think one may be a cautious place to start.
Okay. This gentleman's waiting first, sir. Okay, Mr. Hilliard, are you citizen of Ayer?
No, sir. I
just
wondered if I could have an exception.
Actually, there is one. This gentleman is seeking unanimous approval to address town meeting. He's not a resident of Ayer.
My name is John Hillier. I'm the executive director and founder of Central Ave Compassionate Care on Central Ave. I'm a resident in Shirley,
Yeah. Okay, so you know who he is now? I'm going to put it to vote. Is there any objection to him addressing town meeting? No?
Thank you.
Mr. Hilliard.
I just wanted to, first say we're not a pot shop. We specialize in cannabis and helping people in healthy lifestyles. Many people choose cannabis over opiates today. There's a lot of good things going on in our industry, and I wanted you to know that we take it very seriously. At the state level, because we put in time in the front end of this, and the state wants to see the voters' wills met, they've embraced the people with experience in the state to carry forward into the market shift, which is happening. Cannabis is out there. It's not going to be any more. It's just going to be legal and controlled and tested and tracked. So we're faced with that task, entering into this new market. We have patients who come to us today and say that they're not renewing their $200 doctor's fee and their $50 registration fee because they know that they'll be able to go into a store and buy it without that cumbersome process. What that's done for us is it's taken away our market, which is now being enjoyed through other delivery services that may or may not be legal. So there's some dangers there in our society until this is embraced completely at the rec or adult use level. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm here. You can call my office anytime. You could stop by, but you wouldn't be able to get in. You could leave your card with security, and I'd love to address anyone's concerned individually. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Sir.
Mr. Moderator, Alan Peterson, Mulberry Circle. Quick question for you. What is the current motion on the floor?
The current motion on the floor is whether it's to amend the article from 1 to 2 licenses.
Within that, do I have the power to, whether we raise a new motion to bring it back to 1?
No, you would
Yeah.
And
Sir,
the vote?
if it's voted down, then it's back to 1.
Then I call the question.
Is it seconded? Second. Okay, all those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. I deem it is a 2/3 vote. So we immediately vote on the amendment, whether or not to change the motion from 1 license to 2 licenses. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
The noes have it. The motion stays as is. Now the debate is still going on the main motion.
Another question? I move to call the question on
Is it
the
seconded?
motion on the floor.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. It's immediately put to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Wow, that was a weak
Article 14. recreational marijuana retailer zoning bylaw. To see if the town will vote to adopt the following recreational marijuana retailer zoning bylaw, and to authorize the town clerk in consultation with the town administrator to assign appropriate numbering for this bylaw so that it may be in compliance with the numbering format of the town bylaws. Non-medical marijuana retailer. There shall be no more than one non-medical retailer as defined by General Laws, Chapter 94G, subsection 1, as an entity licensed to purchase and deliver marijuana and marijuana products from marijuana establishments and to deliver, sell, or otherwise transfer marijuana and marijuana products to marijuana establishments in town permitted to locate and operate within the town, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to adopt the following recreational marijuana retailer zoning bylaw as set forth by Article 14.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sir.
Jeff Mays, Pleasant Street, 72. Can we amend this article so that the language mimics the current Article 9 in the zoning bylaws, and then amend that bylaw to add in marijuana dispensaries?
Yes, you can. Put it in writing.
I'm asking, can we do that? Yes, you can. Oh my God, I got to write the whole thing. Yeah, okay, well, we're gonna let. It's just for you to walk it over.
Yeah.
What?
Let's keep it in the Okay, I was wrong. As a consultation with the council, what you're proposing is not germane to the motion as written. This is just establishing a zoning bylaw without establishing a zoning district. Article 9 establishes a zoning district.
But we wouldn't need to establish a district if it's overlaid in the current district that we already have, is the point.
Attorney Corbo, I'll let him explain it.
Okay.
He gets the big bucks.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. I know that this is confusing, and part of that is again, because this is a brand new law, and we don't really have the benefit of judicial interpretations of the language. So what you did in the previous article was you enacted a general bylaw to restrict the number of recreational retail establishments that can operate in the town. What we're asking you to do in Article 14 is the same exact thing, but just calling it a zoning bylaw and enacting it by a 2/3 majority instead of a 1/3 majority. And the reason that we're doing this is at the recommendation of the Attorney General's office. As you may know, all bylaws enacted at town meeting, whether they're general bylaws or zoning bylaws, must go to the Attorney General for review. And in reviewing a similar bylaw in another community, the Attorney General approved a general bylaw to limit the maximum number of establishments, but said that these types of bylaws are commonly enacted as zoning bylaws and recommended that you do that as well. So what we're really doing here is belt and suspenders. We're asking you to do the same exact thing by two different methods. The end result is a limit on the maximum number of establishments that can operate as being one. What we're not doing here is establishing where that one establishment can go. And in my opinion, that would have to be the subject of a different warrant article, because you're limited in what you can do at a town meeting to the scope of what was advertised to the voters. And what was advertised to the voters here was a limit on the number, not a regulation of a particular location. So again, what I would suggest that you do here is, because you voted yes on Article 13, vote also yes on Article 14. And if you wish to further review the issue of where this one establishment might go, then that would be a subject for a future meeting to either amend the existing Article 9 of the current zoning bylaws or to enact a new zoning bylaw governing the location of the one establishment that is approved to operate.
Mr. Moderator.
Sir.
Which sir is that?
Okay, I'm talking to you.
Okay. Sorry.
I didn't notice Robert getting up. I saw recognize you first.
I'm just curious, why do we need another bylaw when we already have one that 95% of the town actually was not aware of?
I think this is the recommendation of the Attorney General.
Well, that's fine, but not every town has an adult entertainment zone where we already have a bylaw established that is extremely restrictive as to its location. So why do we need to reinvent the wheel? I'm just curious why.
Mr. Pombriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you, as Attorney Corbo explained, to go into changing the zoning bylaw as the gentleman has proposed on the floor would be inappropriate in that, as you have stated, Mr. Moderator, it's out of the scope, as a town council has, Article 14. I do, if I may, through you, Mr. Moderator, the Board of Selectmen have already called a special town meeting for Monday, March 19th, 2018, for the sole purpose of updating the zoning bylaw, which is underway, which, of course, the town planner, myself, the board would be obviously open to the public's input on that bylaw for March. But again, through you, respectfully, that the gentleman's proposal is outside of the scope.
But a clarification, on here it says that the town may, by statute, limit the number of recreational marijuana retailers to fewer than 20% of the number of licenses issued within the town for alcoholic beverages. Does that mean that if the town so chooses to only issue 6 licenses, that there will be less than one recreational marijuana facility in town?
Mr. Pombriand.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the question, Article 13 and Article 14 set it to 1 license, which is the minimum that the town of Ayer can set, which is reflective of 20% of the 8 package stores.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I believe it is 2/3 vote, therefore it is passed. Now, before we adjourn, I'm going to have Dan do the adjournment in a second. I just want to let you know, me and the town administrator had a bet. I thought Tom was going to go 2 nights. I owe him a drink, and we're going to have it down in the Showboat Club after the meeting. Anyone who's joining us, welcome. Dan? Anybody? Do I hear a second? All in favor, please say aye. Have a good night.